Hey guys, welcome back to another Lore Olympus video. I am a dazzling Kate, and welcome back to my channel for those who are old here, and welcome to my channel for those who are new here. So we are going into my top 5 Lore Olympus characters. Now, this is my own personal top 5 from, the reasons I'm going to give when I tell you these characters. Of course, there was a lot of characters to go through, but most of them are just eh, not so interesting or not so, positive in some dynamics. There are some areas where I can't even go into because A, the character doesn't have enough information or affected the storyline. Two, wait, did I say A or one? Oh, you get the picture. Two, the plots of some of the characters just went nowhere, and we didn't even get a glimpse of what they were like outside of, Persephone and Hades' relationship to really have them stand on their own. So it was really limited for a lot of these characters, but I will say it's definitely not who you would think it is. If you've already seen them in the worst 5 characters, they're most likely not on the top 5 characters for obvious reasons. So grab your drinks, grab your snacks. This may be a long one. So first coming in is Artemis. Now, a lot of people do have their dislike for Artemis for getting Persephone into the situation in a way, but I mostly blame that onto Aphrodite and Eros with Hades' relationship with Persephone. But also, I feel like a lot of the time, in a lot of situations, there's definitely someone who's been in Artemis's shoes that dealt with finding out that their relative did such a thing. But I'm going to focus entirely on the personality traits. Yes, it was kind of irritating to me that she did go from overprotective before what happened to Persephone and Apollo to then being dismissive about it, but there's an understanding level there considering Artemis and Apollo have been very close in mythology and definitely were protective of each other. So it is no surprise that is what happened with them. So it's just I'm not excusing what she's done considering she had no idea what happened exactly. What she did say, yeah, that was pretty shitty of her. I'm not going to hold that against her too much, considering there's a lot more worse things a lot of these characters have done in the worst character category. Anyways, yeah, so I do like that she is dedicated to her morals in the Goddesses of Eternal Maidenhood. That is something I feel like we definitely didn't get to see a lot of, considering people were just trying to make sense of but why didn't why is she so upset that Athena and Hasty are in a relationship? Girl, this is supposed to be them being reserved to maidenhood, not getting into a relationship. Like, come on, it's not rocket science. It is really ridiculous because I feel like in a lot of ways this is definitely something that was dismissed so easily for some people for character traits, even though in mythology she was single, she was a virgin, she didn't care for a relationship. There were maybe one or two myths where she did, but it never really went anywhere that made her into a big deal with that person. My mind is forgetting names, so if I can't remember a specific name, I apologize. It's not because I don't care. It's more so on the lines that I know I can't pronounce the name, and I know for a fact there are so many handfuls of names that sound identical that I don't want to fuck up and make myself look like an idiot. Okay? Good, good, good. Let's continue. So she had the potential to be a to have good character development due to the factors of pressure from both her. bleh. She had the potential to basically have excellent character development due to the factors of pressure from her family, but it's just once we actually get to those moments within the series, it's just kind of dismissed, and then we either go back to like Hades and Persephone or some other side plot that doesn't really matter to the situation, and we just dismiss Artemis completely. It's such a pain in the ass, considering she could have actually made a difference within the plot and actually have done something useful in the plot other than just being the best friend that kind of just gets settled into the background and never really gets used, even though there's a lot of potential for storytelling with said character. It's just Rachel didn't want to deal with that. And it would have been interesting had, Artemis actually found out what Aphrodite did, considering their relationship in history to begin with. Like, there's like a few stories that a lot of people have told me about with Artemis and Aphrodite, considering they're both complete opposites, since Artemis is a single independent woman and Aphrodite is a very loving, lustful character in Greek mythology. So it's just like having those two, have some kind of dynamic in the comic would have been interesting, especially since what happened with Persephone ending up in Hades' car thanks to Aphrodite. It would have been one of those things to like begin a more of a war, not war per se, but like more of a battle with Artemis and Aphrodite, and having them like, have this tension throughout the series. It would have been interesting. It would have made use of Artemis's character. It would have made use of Aphrodite's character. It would have done something for the plot than just, you know, her just being in the background with family issues, which isn't a bad thing. It's just more on the lines of trying to make use of her in every way possible to kind of make her useful in the plot. You get what I mean? But yeah, she even let Persephone make her own choices, even if she wasn't a big fan of them. Yeah, she did say stuff about it, but she still respected her at the end of the day, and I think that's something to really, you know, be good with her character. I think that was kind of interesting. And even in the original plot, like pilot, she had more personality. And then it got dimmed down because Rachel didn't want to deal with the BS of other female characters outshining each other. So, well, standing in the way of Persephone, because Persephone is the only one that matters. Everyone else who's a female sucks, except for maybe Hera. But moving on to number 4, considering we've spent a lot of time talking about Artemis, let's get into it. Coming in at number 4 is Zeus. Now, this is a no-brainer for me because Zeus actually didn't kiss up to Persephone's ass. I mean, it's kind of funny because I'm like, there's so many things that they could have done with his like character and such, and it would have been interesting. But yeah, outside of the main characters, he is a little bit more well written and a very fun character to like watch and look into the plots of what's going on in the background with him. There is a bit more dynamic between him and other side characters that we do get to see occur, even if it is his mistress or if it's with him sleeping around, basically being a douchebag. At least he was interesting about it. He wasn't trying to like defend himself in every step of the way. He knew who he was. He knew uh, he knew who he was, and you know that's all that mattered. And I think that's something we needed to see a lot more of within the series, since I feel like a lot of the people, like all the characters, I mean, who were involved basically kissed up to like Hades and Persephone's relationship, did everything they could for them, like spoiled them rotten because, they're the main characters, they're adorable. But Zeus, no, 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 no. No, no. He took his role seriously, even if it meant trying to, like, at first get Hades together with Persephone, trying to persuade Hera to help out, even though she was against it originally, and then somehow decided to just do it just because, to make it a test. I really do like that Zeus doesn't really care for Persephone's attitude, like the way that she carries herself. He doesn't really care. It's just like, well, whatever you do, you. It's like, but don't expect me to like flip myself backwards like my brother because you think you're so cute and so manipulative. He can read through the room, he can read through the bullshit. It's just kind of really nice. And even so, with him being involved with the plot, he does have a little bit more on the line than what Persephone and everyone else has to deal with. Now I know that sounds like really privileged, but if you really think about it, Zeus didn't really do much other than protect Persephone from being used by Apollo, and he didn't want Apollo to take over and, you know, basically be a douchebag. Like, out of all the characters here, it's like kind of funny that Zeus managed to stop that and even stuck his neck out for Persephone during her light sentence, which should have still been a long one, considering, yeah, it's surprising, you know. It's really surprising. It's surprising because there's so much potential in what could have done, like what could have been brought up more, and what could have actually been developed for the characters, especially since Zeus does actually do more to kind of bring more plot to the story his with him trying to figure out the act of wrath, why everyone's disobedient against him. He has his reasons, and it's understandable why he would be rightfully pissed that this was hidden from him, and he's not going to go lightly on Persephone. Hell no. Like, with something like that, it should be seen as, you know, what it is, an act of wrath. And I know people are going to be like, but with the Apollo and Artemis thing, that was basically the same thing. Okay, I'm going way too much into the rambling, but I think this is something I really found interesting that like Zeus had a plan to put his son Dionysus into like, you know, give him to like the nymphs, and then Persephone, like after helping him give birth, quotation marks around that, is just like, you know what? I think me and Hades needs to skip more than they do or than you do. And it's like, what? Bitch? That's his kid. He can do whatever the hell he wants. Like, I'm not saying he's the best father, but he at least was giving him to like nymphs that could actually do the job and not just hand him over to you and just you can have your little fantasy baby. Like that's like it's the equivalent of some crazy like sister-in-law who helps you give birth, and then she asks, "Hey, you already are a fuck up of a parent. Mind if I just take your kid?" Like, no, I have intentions to give him to someone else. Like, why are you asking? And she just runs off with the kid, and he's just like supposed to accept that, and it doesn't really make much sense, and I really wish that that was not done at all because it just makes Persephone look like a big douchebag. It it enhances the douchebagginess. Let's be real. It was just there to like give them like fan service to like all the fans of how cute and wootsy this all is. Meanwhile, Zeus did all this stuff, helped her find Hades, prevented Apollo from marrying her, you know, made sure that she was safe, even if it wasn't in the best way to keep the relationship together, even though he was trying. So you run off with his kid. That's fair, I guess. Not like you did all this stuff to help you out. Okay, fine, got it. Let's move on to number three because I'm just gonna go into a rant if I don't. But that's probably one of the main reasons why I do like Zeus is that he can read through the room and just kind of tell when somebody's like not giving him the respect he deserves, and it makes sense. It makes sense, and I do like his moments of humor. So that's kind of another reason why he's one of the top five for me. He's actually written to not like be an ass kisser to Persephone. Oh my gosh. Let's move on to number three. Number three is Thanatos. Now, this is a no-brainer because honestly, Thanatos deserved better. Like, he deserved way better than what he was handed. Like, holy shit, this. How can someone. How can someone just basically think, oh yeah, he's a douchebag because he you know, told Zeus about what Persephone did, and um, he also snuck into her apartment like the weirdo he is. Like, yeah, and what Persephone did was totally fine, even though she would later on do the same damn thing, going into someone's house and breaking in and destroying it. What did Thanatos do? He just collected evidence. Now, I know people might be like, but it doesn't matter. They're both douchebags in like areas of sneaking in, but at least he didn't confront her and chop vegetables and all be like, "Why are you near my like dad?" Like he didn't do that. He didn't go that low. He didn't get that petty. And plus, it was part of the procedure of his job and rules of Olympus. So, of course, he's going to tell Zeus what happened. Does that make him a bad character? Hell no. But yeah, another reason why he's an interesting character to me that was actually written pretty well is probably the fact that he wasn't great with relationships. I mean, we've noticed that he isn't really the best character, considering not only does he have Hades as a father, quotation marks, I'm not even going to lie and say that he's trying to be his father because that would be a lie. But he was adopted by him, so I have to technically say it, but it's more of an squire than an actual son. But yeah, he didn't have the best relationship, well, best relationship with the public and anyone in general due to his reputation, due to Hades' reputation, and his mom who just basically abandoned him. We don't really get an explanation as to what was the reason. Like, okay, I guess, but why? Like, what's the purpose? What's the purpose of leaving him? Like, what happened? And we don't even get a scene between those two, but oh yeah, we can have Rhea and Hades have their like reunion, but we can't have Thanatos and Nyx talk. Like, why did you do this to me? Like, why did you abandon me with like it would have been an interesting element to see Nyx in the courtroom like getting in and basically explaining her side, like that would have made more sense. So that way it made Hades look more like a douchebag and everyone being like, oh shit, he was a terrible dad. Like, yeah, but instead it's just like, oh yeah, he got special treatment. Like, no, 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 no. Like, if we're going to involve the parties all involved, you should have brought in Nyx. It would have made more sense to bring her in, or at least have a communication orb of some kind so she can share her side of the story. Because it doesn't really make sense to just so basically be like, oh, Nyx is a very bad mom, even though in the mythology it's not as accurate as it would be. Like, Lore Olympus isn't as accurate to the source material in lots of ways. No surprise there. But I'm not saying it should 100% be as accurate as possible. You can adapt whatever you like, but it's also like you got to remember if there's some elements of the character being bad, it's like, yeah, yeah, there's a lot there. There's a lot there. But yeah, and he had the potential to, take over the business, especially considering without him, there wouldn't be a business. Like, think about it. They're in the like early days trying to figure out this shit out. And, Thanatos, who is the child of being the god of I mean, who is a god of death, who finds these souls, and how much do you want to bet Hades and Haka- Hack- Hackety didn't know what the fuck they were doing and saw once this little kid got into the building, they're like, hey, why not we just start using all these souls this kid brings in? What an excellent idea. And it irritates me because there's so much story potential, so many elements of what we could have seen between like Hades and Thanatos' relationship and show a little bit more on Thanatos' side than just making him out to be this big bad guy because he didn't like agree with everything Persephone said. That's just so fucking annoying to me. And it's one of the main reasons why I enjoy his character is because he kiss Persephone doesn't kiss Persephone's ass all the time. He doesn't even do that at all to begin with. The only tolerable moments are probably when, Thanatos is with Daphne with Persephone during that one meetup, I think. I can't remember all the details, but eh. But yeah, he could have actually been important to the plot if he wasn't just used as the guy who ruined Persephone and Hades' relationship. He was the guy who was taken advantage of by Hades, whose power and title of, you know, being the god of death was used as a method to bring more money to Hades, who most likely, let's be real, in this situation, there's different interpretations when people look into this because, Thanatos would, in some versions, is technically older than Hades and would definitely be the one in charge if we looked at the factors here that considering considering the fact that he is the one who finds the souls and brings them there, technically speaking, if, Hades is just a person who just figures out the numbers. That's basically it. He doesn't technically do much other than judge, and that's it. Not to say that he doesn't have enough power in the underworld to rule over these people. It's just more on the lines of without Thanatos, Hades wouldn't have a business. So really, I think the man owes Thanatos a lot more credit than credit is due. I mean, where the credit is due, man. My mind is just confused at these sayings. But yeah, that's why he's one of my favorite characters, is because he doesn't kiss up to Persephone. He does try his best, even if it seems like it's filled with ill intent. And he is definitely a better written character than Daphne is, than what Persephone is, because you can actually connect with him and understand him on a personal level. This guy has been through shit. Maybe Demeter should have just been I think Demeter should have definitely have hit it really well in bringing up hey, you may think I'm a bad mom, but hey, at least I'm not you, a shitty ass dad whose son has been through a lot worse because he wanted to be a shitty ass dad. Not to say she isn't a helicopter mom, but I would imagine compared to Hades, Demeter would be a fucking walk in the park. Let's be real. That would make sense. It makes so much more sense. But let's move on to the second. Oh, sorry, yawned. Let's move on to the second character, which is Demeter. This is not a surprise, guys. You knew this was coming. But okay, so she is forced to basically play the bad guy role just because it's written that way, even though in the original myth she has just a good as big part as Persephone and Hades. Heck, there's many different stories that are within the timeline of the Persephone and Hades myth, where she's looking for her daughter and uses Winter to her advantage to basically threaten Zeus that if he doesn't bring her back, then she's going to make sure nobody else lives. This is someone we should be rooting for. Imagine your 19-year-old daughter is abducted by a creepy 50-year-old, 60-year-old man, and you're just supposed to accept that because everyone tells you to, and then you begin looking for your kid who you want to see, who you want to fight for and kick whoever's ass decided to make her marry a weird creepy old man. Come on. This is Let's be real. Lore Olympus should have been should have been told from Demeter's side. Like, let's be real, that would have been interesting. But no, 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 no. Let's make it a romance story. Totally not gonna backfire. But yeah, she is seen trying to be a good mother from the beginning, but as the years go on and as Persephone becomes a teenager and as Persephone deals with the wrath of something inside her, it's just like, well, there's not much really there. And yeah, it's a shame because her character was basically broken down defeated the full original lore just to make Demeter look like the bad guy. So we're going to side with the creepy guy with mommy and daddy issues, but the moment we bring someone else who was just very overly protective of her kid, we should be furious that she's mad that a 50 to 6-year-old man is essentially dating her daughter because he's in love with her. No, he's not. No, he's not. No, he's not. With the short amount of time they've known each other, it's no surprise why Demeter acts the way she does because it's like, well, she is young, she's only known him for less than 3 months. Yeah, it's no surprise. It's no surprise that she thinks that their relationship is rather weird and puzzling. But yeah, and it's really interesting because there's in some in some of the original lore, it in some of the original Greek mythology lore, Demeter actually does create the sirens that sing sailors to their death. That's pretty badass. It's only because these sirens were created to basically look for Persephone, and this is only in some versions. Not every version is the same, but it's one of the explanations for why these creatures were created. And it's interesting. It's really interesting. Why couldn't we have seen something like that? That would have been an interesting story for Demeter. It would have been a interesting way to show how far this woman was willing to look for her daughter by even transforming the nymphs who failed to do their duty into creatures that, eventually become a big part of other mythology lore. It's just so interesting. But no, no, I guess we just need to skip that because it wouldn't be good, I guess. And yeah, it's really interesting because throughout the entirety of the story, there are moments where we can sort of connect with her. One of one of the moments that really made I could feel myself relate to was when she was trying to get her vote to become queen of the mortal realm, and then she finds out that people have turned against her, like Zeus changing his vote so she can't be queen of the mortal realm. And it just comes to show it really comes to show that the only person outside of her was Poseidon, and that's saying something considering you know, in some mythology stories he actually is yeah, uh, I always feel bad. I always feel bad when I try to bring up these points, and I'm like, oh my gosh, why did you make Poseidon look more tame? Oh my gosh, and that's only because Hades decided to basically tell Zeus, made a deal with Zeus, and she tells him she tries to confront Hades, who then is like, well, those volcanoes are mine, and she was even willing to offer to make a deal to settle this down, even though technically these volcanoes wouldn't even be owned by Hades. It makes no sense. It really, really makes no sense. It would be one thing if these volcanoes would lead to the underworld. Then I kind of understand it. But it doesn't make sense because it's well, they were a gift from my mom. What the fuck? Bitch? Bitch, no, 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 no. Sorry, but no. No, 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 no. Demeter was willing to like make a deal with you, and then he even goes as far as to like basically put her down with her jewelry and how she dresses, and it's just we never see an apology that actually feels sincere without it being forced by, the circumstances by Persephone, or realizing, oh, this could get in the way of me not being able to like sleep with Persephone more. Oh my gosh, I gotta try and apologize because I won't get any action. Oh, it just feels so annoying. And don't even bring in don't even bring in her dead, or now demigod son, who she had in the mortal realm. That was an interesting element to the story, but it's just so frustrating. It's just so very frustrating that we didn't really get a chance to see her actually interact with those characters when she was in the mortal realm. I think it would have been an excellent break to kind of take a, you know, hiatus from the Hades and Persephone story and focus on Demeter's side, what she had to go through, what she had to do, what she did to look for Persephone, and it's just so freaking bizarre to me that we will never be able to get that because reasons. Because Persephone and Hades belong to each other. It's like, I guess. I guess. But yeah, she should definitely be rightfully mad for what happened to Persephone, but we never really see Persephone acknowledge it or even get a huff of apology from either Hades or anyone else involved in getting him with Persephone. Like, Hera never apologizes, Persephone never apologizes for disobeying her mom. There's just a lot there that makes no damn sense that could have been resolved, but no, 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 no. We just needed to make sure she was the bad guy, okay, guys? We need to make sure she was the bad guy. And what really makes me upset, like, with the wasted potential her character has, and I really wish we could have seen more of, was how she treated her children outside of Persephone, and that being Aaron and Dimafune. Hopefully I said that right. And we don't even get a chance for her to give them any attention. And there's even like a few more if you count some like versions of that lore, if you want to go into that, and even a daughter who was the twin of Aaron in ways, like in other ways, like it's just interesting how we don't get to see that. And it would have been such a shame to like I don't know. It's just I know she brought up Aaron in one point to Poseidon, and I honestly would have loved to see how the fuck did this even happen? And how the fuck, like, how are they going to explain this that doesn't go to the point of, like, like Demeter and Poseidon actually being horses? Like, how are they going to explain that part? And yeah, there's a lot of excellent points there, guys, okay? Like, how, like, was this just for the comedic effect? Like, oh, we had a son who's also a horse. Like, ha 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 ha. Like, honestly, I would be more interested in the story with Aaron than with anyone else. Like, let's be real. That guy, he probably has a better story to tell than Persephone. It would have been more interesting, too. And I would have loved to see, like, Demeter actually interact with like, her other kids more so than Persephone to kind of show that she does love them equally. Okay. Anyways, let's move on to the next character. Well, the final character, which should be a no-brainer in this situation. Okay, anyways. Oh, wait. We're still on Demeter. which is Minthe. Now, everyone knows Minthe is my absolute favorite character from Lore Olympus for obvious reasons that she has better storytelling compared to Persephone and has more relatable moments than Persephone. And it's so insane to me that we have someone we're supposed to dislike being a main character, like having main character energy and vibes, and we're just supposed to hate her because she's the other woman that got in the way of Persephone and her love with Hades. And it's like, no. But yeah, like, anyways, it's so weird because it's like she was the original woman. Why are you bringing Persephone in like she's the main woman, even though she was the one who came along and took him? It's so insane. But she had so much potential for more moments, like more moments of development and connections with others that could have gone somewhere. But it was snatched from us just because, Rachel wanted to get this character out of the story as soon as she could, just so we didn't have to, like, do any more with that. But yeah, she has the right to be mad and upset because of not just what Hades has done to her, but everyone around her. I mean, everyone around her is like, from the very beginning, Hera having a like dislike for her for being a nymph, and many others, like I'm sure Poseidon joined in, Zeus joined in, whoever else was involved that wanted to talk shit about her, like I don't know, Aphrodite, she seems like another contender for wanting to like bully Minthe because of what she says later on with Persephone in a later chapter. It feels as if like Hades had really loved Minthe and had he really asked her to marry him and she did say yes, there would have been a lot more shit coming from all those characters and being like, why would you want to marry her? She's like, nymph trash. She's blah blah blah. And it's so sad because like it's like I don't know how to describe this feeling. It's just so saddening to see that someone who, who we're not even supposed to like because of how Rachel wants her to be addressed, but it's just like you see more relatable moments when she is feeling like shit. She feels like she's not enough. She feels like, hey, I'm like, am I even worth it? Like, or is my like life just gonna be this shitty all the time? Like, what's even fulfilling to me anymore? It's like that is really good storytelling. She would have been able to sell the whole show if she was the main character. But no, 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 no. It's Persephone. Of course it's Persephone. But yeah, she has more of a satisfying ending than Persephone because she's actually grown as a person more so than Persephone, who remains the same as she was in the beginning, middle, and end. I mean, if you told me between Persephone in the first chapter and then like a random chapter in the middle of season 2 and then at the end, I would not be able to tell you if she's developed or not, or if she's become a better person, or if she's changed. Nothing, because she didn't change. She's just as boring as ever. She never changes her mind about anything, and she just is what she is, which is basically an over like an like over Mary Sue insert for Rachel to live out her fantasies within, and that's just kind of sad. Yeah, that sounds mean, but let me be real. If you want people to actually love the character, you got to put some more time and effort into those moments where we're supposed to connect with her. Not with you like if you want that kind of stuff, you got to make sure it works. But yeah, like I said, there was a lot more thought put into her story than there was with a lot of side characters. Like when we get introduced to other characters down the line, like Thaddeus or Daphne, other nymph characters who just don't leave as much of a satisfying like glimpse into like any other storytelling. It's just like, yeah, Menthe was probably the best written out of all the characters within the Lore Olympus universe. Like, this is insane. But yeah, people did relate to her more than they could with Persephone. She has likability and doesn't use her status with Hades as some kind of threat. Like the only time I would imagine she uses her status with Hades was when she was trying to basically let Persephone know that she and Hades are a thing and she should back the fuck off. Like any woman would. And it's like, but when Persephone does it, it's totally fine when she does it to lose. But Minthe, oh, it's wrong. It's wrong because she's in the way of true love. Like, what the fuck? But yeah, like I said, she was very well written. She had better moments of using, like, let me just rephrase that. My mind's just like, ugh. But she had better moments of using her actual brain instead of just letting Hades save her. Like she had to actually think for herself. She was thinking outside of just like, Hades. She was worried about her own life. She was worried about how she was going to live outside of working for Hades. And even in the moments where Hades is trying to move on, like, remember when the moment with her and Hades after he was trying to put her into another building so he didn't have to see her that much? And he was even willing to pay her to go back to school so she could learn more. And she was just like surprised and shit about this. Like, you're actually moving me away? You're actually doing this? What's going on here? Are you trying to like pull something on me? Which is obvious because he's trying to manipulate the moments. And you can see that she can tell that it's happening. It's so interesting to me of how that works. And that's probably one of the main reasons why I love her character so much is that you can tell what she's thinking. You know what she's going to do. And how passionate she is for, well, not passionate, but like how connected she is with making sure she survives and how we connect to her because we do want her to survive. We do want to see her live. We do want to see her do something because we can relate with her. But yeah, that's one of the main reasons why she's my favorite character out of all the Lore Olympus characters. She's better written. She actually has problems to face, and even in her worst moments, it's well explained as to why she's in that moment and what got her there to begin with. And at the end, she's given something, like she's giving to something, like somebody, like the she's giving back of the knowledge she knows to other people who could actually use it. So that way, maybe, just maybe, they won't end up in the same situation as she was, because that feels just as satisfying than what we ended up getting with the other characters. Like, let me be real, it's like so fucking surprising that out of all the characters meant they actually managed to get a decent ending that didn't feel like a slap in the face. To some degree, I wish we had gotten more for her, but I'm satisfied with what we did get to some degree. But anyways, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you did, and if you are new here, please hit that subscribe button. It would mean the world to me. So stay safe, stay cool, and most importantly, guys, stay hydrated. This is Dazzling Kate, signing the hell out of here.